lobby. Let's all go to the lobby, lobby. Let's all go to the lobby to get ourselves a treat.
Hello, horror hounds, and welcome to Now Slain, an It Slays podcast production where we review the latest and greatest in the world of horror. I'm your humble host, Rowan.
And it's Jill.
And we are here to review Totally Killer, that was released October 6, 2023 on Amazon Prime. Now, before we get into the show, I thought I'd ask you, Jill, did you know about Totally Killer? Were you looking forward to it? Had you seen a trailer or anything for it? What were your, leanings towards this?
Yeah, I had no idea that it was going to be a thing until you told me about it, because there's just, it's... The horror movie market right now in October is so saturated that there's just a lot, even on direct to stream. There's a lot going on. So this one slipped through the cracks of my radar. But yeah, what about you?
Yeah, so I don't know where I'd heard this from. I'm sure, YouTube, it popped up in a recommended or... realistically, I'm signed up. I get all the Blumhouse newsletters and stuff.
Oh boy.
Yeah, I'm just that geeky. Although, shout out to Blumhouse because they always send you phone wallpapers and stuff. They always send it's usually Megan. It's just fun Megan wallpapers, but sometimes it's the black phone or whatever.
That's cute.
But yeah, I'm sure it was just them. Hey, here's a link to a trailer of an upcoming movie we're producing. And I was kind of interested just because, the premise is something I'd be into. I know it was kind of billed as a horror comedy, and kind of looked like it had the feel of a kind of a Christopher Landon, Happy Death Day or something. And I enjoyed that when it came out. So I was kind of interested. So you know what? Let's kick it to the trailer and then we'll be back with the synopsis and the spoiler-free review.
I'd like to report a crime that hasn't happened yet. Have you seen the movie Back to the Future? Basically, I'm living that movie right now, which is how I know there's gonna be a murder tonight.
Hate time travel movies. They never make any sense.
Happy Halloween. How about we all stay in and hand out Halloween candy? No, Mom. You know how hard this time of year is for us. Your friends were murdered 35 years ago. It's not 1987 anymore. Stay safe, honey. I love you. What the fuck? Excuse me, what year is it?
1987.
Oh my God. I know.
The 80s are almost over and I haven't even tried Coke yet. I don't know.
Oh my God. Mom. Fuck off and die. Jesus, Mom. Mamacita. Ay. Ay, ay, ay. Mamacita.
Time for my birthday, bitch!
This is a creepy-ass cabin in the middle of fucking nowhere.
What's the big deal?
There's a murderer on the loose, and you drove us into the woods. Oh my God! What? I forgot to bring vodka.
You have 7.5 hours until you're stuck here forever.
I need to stop all this horror before it happens. Do the machines kill us all? No.
They more just rip apart the fabric of our society via dance videos on TikTok.
They use dance against us?
Come on out. The water's warm.
Just so you know,
I don't do blowjobs. You pee out of that thing.
Just think, maybe if she did do blowjobs, she'd still be alive.
Yeah, let's not make that the lesson.
80s weed sucks. This is just dirt. Look at all these twigs. Yeah, I could give you a gummy this big that has 100 times more weed than this.
So that was the trailer for Totally Killer, directed by Nahnatchka Khan and written by Jen D'Angelo, David M. Madelon, and Sasha Pearl Raver. And the synopsis is as follows. Murder is So 1987. 35 years after the shocking murders of 3 teens, an infamous killer returns on Halloween night to claim a 4th victim. When 17-year-old Jamie comes face to face with the masked maniac, she accidentally time travels back to 1987. Forced to navigate the unfamiliar culture, Jamie teams up with her teenage mother to take down the psycho once and for all. So here on Now Slaying, we like to start off giving a spoiler-free review and try not to ruin it for anyone. So if you haven't seen this film yet, you can listen to this part and, get a gist of whether or not you want to see it. So Jill, I'll start with you and ask you, what are your initial spoiler-free thoughts on Totally Killer?
I think it was a super, super fun movie. I love, black comedy. And it was totally that. It had a little bit of, goofy sci-fi. I think it nailed the 80s aesthetic, the 80s vibe. It nailed so many things. It was pretty gruesome with the deaths, pretty gory. So, it had the horror element, but it was funny and it was just fun to watch. I also love Kiernan Shipka. I know her from, first of all, I know her from Mad Men.
Oh,
I love that show. And then also Chilling Adventures of Sabrina, which I also really love. So I'm so happy to see her thriving and doing fun horror movies. She's such a scream queen, and this actually gave me scream queen vibes. Just because it's funny and it's dark. But yeah, I think it's super funny. What about you?
I thought this was pretty funny. I'm also a Kiernan Shipka fan. Obviously, Mad Men, one of my all-time favorite shows. I think me and Exilia have rewatched it tons of times from start to finish. And every Christmas, we actually watch a Mad Men Christmas episode.
That's awesome.
But
it's a comfort show.
Comfort show.
In a weird way.
I was also a big fan of, the Chilling Adventures of Sabrina. And yeah, she's kind of on her way. I like her in this Scream Queen category. I know she was in a horror movie a couple years ago also. It was called The Coal Miner's Daughters, I think, or something like that. And I can't remember. I think I saw it, and I think it was pretty good. She's amazing in it. And the cast is just really good in this. Julie Bowen, which most people would know from what the hell is that show?
Modern Family.
Modern Family, yeah. Which is another show I've seen from start to finish. She's amazing. Probably my favorite is Randall Park, who most people would know as the dad from Fresh Off the Boat. He's always in comedies. He's kind of in the Seth Rogen, Judd Apatow world a lot. Just this character comedy actor. But yeah, like you said, I thought it was super funny. I thought the music was really great. Obviously, when you're getting into this time travel type Back to the Future thing, especially if we're going to 80s, I'm just all right, what's the music situation? And I thought this was kind of interesting because I really enjoyed the fact that they played songs that I think people, I'm thinking younger people that'll probably watch this would know, maybe just from the radio. But they didn't play kind of the obvious 80s songs that every type of movie that does this or is set in the 80s plays. So I did like that they kind of switched the music up. So it was known stuff, but it wasn't the biggest stuff from the 80s.
Some deep cuts kind of.
Yeah.
Not really deep cuts, but not the obvious choices.
Yeah, not the obvious choices. And I'm just gonna say up front now, like, if you're banging like Echo and the Bunnymen in your movie, I'm definitely gonna vibe with it. So yeah, I love the song they play in that. I was gonna say, like, have you seen Happy Death Day?
Yes.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah, so I was gonna say, this definitely, like, you know, if you're in the Happy Death Day, this is definitely that vibe. This is, you know, a time travel Back to the Future type situation. So I just thought it was really funny that, you know, Christopher Landon, from, you know, his Happy Death Day creation all the way to, you know, he wrote and directed pretty much like a chunk of the Paranormal Activities, especially when we started to bring in time travel into those. This, you know, he kind of like has owned this territory for a while. So I thought it was interesting that someone else took a stab at it and actually did a pretty good job.
Yeah.
I was gonna say too, like, I think this is definitely aimed at like probably a teenage market, obviously, but I thought it was cool. Like, I could see a lot of the influences. Like, I love movies that kind of wear their influences on their sleeve, because then of course, you know, younger generations can kind of be like, oh, like, you know, what are these other movies that they're like kind of like referencing or homaging and stuff? Like, I had just written down, like, obviously a Happy Death Day, but like there was some stuff that was very like, I Know What You Did Last Summer, Scream, like they used a lot of like jump scares, stuff like that. That was like kind of ripped directly from those texts that I thought was like really, really smart.
Yeah, I agree.
So I was curious, what did you think of The Mask, which is, you know, basically the cover photo for this artwork for the film?
I thought it was pretty interesting. I'm still trying to place where it looks kind of similar to something that I already know. I don't know if it's is it But I'm a Cheerleader, which is like kind of a female version of, like, you know, that cartoonish.
It kind of has that feel.
But I'm trying. There's something else that I'm missing, but it reminds me of another type of mask. But I like it because it's not like in your face creepy. It's just unsettling because it's so like goofy. You know?
Yeah, I think that's exactly it. And I always think like masks that aren't, you know, like ghoulish or like, you know, it's not like a zombie mask or a Frankenstein. Like, it's a mask that like looks like it's supposed to be of somebody. Like, those masks always look unsettling just because they're always like disproportioned and weird. And
yeah,
I thought it was interesting. I did read that it looking familiar was kind of the goal. They said they mixed a lot of like different influences in it. I know the big one was Kiefer Sutherland in Lost Boys.
Stop it.
Yeah.
With the earring.
Yeah.
It did have the earring. Okay.
Basically, they said they tried to mix a bunch of like famous actors in and have just kind of like this vibe of the influences were Kiefer Sutherland, Rob Lowe in the 80s.
Stop it.
Dolph Lundgren, and Johnny Bravo.
Okay. That definitely comes through.
Yeah, and it was kind of the only one I didn't overly see was Rob Lowe. Like, I didn't get the Rob Lowe out of it, I'm sure.
That's so funny to me. I have to, like, look this up. It does. The face, though.
Yeah,
kind of. Yeah.
And she did say, like, she tried to make the teeth, like, they did want to exaggerate the teeth, so it did look, like, unsettling and weird that it was so big. But I just thought, yeah, I was like, this is kind of cool that they amalgamated, like, all of these, you know, kind of like young, hip actors of the 80s to make this, like, weird mask. I can definitely... You know, I hope this does well enough because, you know, I've said many times that I'm a big, like, you know, I have a decent-sized mask collection.
Listen, we don't need to know about your extracurricular activities. I wouldn't mind, you know, a totally killer mask, though.
Yeah, that's right.
For the OnlyFans.
Yeah, for the OF. So... But like this is one I definitely I own like a Happy Death Day one, and
Awesome.
I'd love to also have like one of these like to put up on the wall beside.
Do you have them on the wall?
I did. I don't right now. But I
You should.
did have them up. Unfortunately, that area kind of got taken over for future kids' room. So I
shame.
know someday I'll put them back up. Apparently, having creepy Halloween masks up in your room may not be the most appropriate thing ever.
Yeah.
Oh, that's what I said. I said,
Potato.
But yeah, the other thing I really enjoyed about this was like how colorful it was.
Mm-hmm.
You know, this is kind of another, like I said, like Christopher Landon influence. I'm thinking about like on the main show. This is a weird comparison, but like, you know, we just recently did like the 73 Wicker Man, and like we just like horror movies that are like not just like set in the day a lot, but are just like colorful and not dark, like, you know, something typical like a Friday the 13th. This is 80s. It's very neon, lots of fringe, like this is fantastic. I just love colorful horror in general. Like, give me some more color.
Me too, and that's kind of why I really love the Neon Demon when we did it, is because it was really pretty, it was really bright and colorful, and I love stuff like that, Color Out of Space, even like Mandy. But yeah, Totally Killer did that, and it totally went with like the 80s feel that it was going for, and I love that they did that.
I don't have many other spoiler-free notes. I want to save some of them for the spoiler section, but I was curious, were you jumping on this episode just because you obviously are stalking Lachlan Monroe? Because it's just kind of getting creepy now, Jill.
It's becoming an issue. I mean, Tooth Fairy was kind of a deep cut.
Yeah.
But he's becoming a regular that we talk about, which is pretty hilarious.
Yeah, which he just keeps popping up in my life. As someone that faithfully watched Riverdale, also like a dad in Riverdale, I'm like, can I escape this guy? I might not. I might not. We might just become an official Lachlan Monroe podcast.
Fan club,
even. Yeah.
And Kiernan Shipka.
Yeah, we'll just start selling Lachlan Monroe t-shirts.
Hell yeah, LM.
Just a picture of him, and it just will say a dick got cut off. But before we end this part, I forgot to ask you, would you recommend this to people?
Absolutely. I think it's kind of a shame that it was direct to stream because it was so good. I think it could have had status like up there with like Megan in terms of how popular it was if it was given that promotional material, you know. I think it could have been a success for them, but instead they're putting out other stuff in the theater, which is not so fun. And this is a really fun movie. Like, I can't remember the last time I saw a movie and I was like, that was really fun. I think Megan was fun, but this one is even more fun. And it's just like campy, and it's got something for everyone. It's got something for like the newer generation. There's all these jokes, like intergenerational jokes that, you know, the millennials or Gen X can kind of get into, and then like Gen Z. And I thought that was super funny. But yeah, I think it's a shame that it was direct to stream. Really good. Definitely check it out. It's funny. I watched it twice actually.
Oh, nice.
Since it came out. Yeah, I watched it the other night when I was painting pumpkins with my friends, and they all generally liked it. And then I had to watch it again because I was like, I don't feel like I gave it the attention it deserved. And it was even funnier the second time. But what about you, Rowan?
Yeah, I would definitely recommend this. I kind of went into this like I thought it looked fun, but I didn't have like real high hopes. I never really do with like kind of the direct to stream stuff. But I was kind of the same as you. I was like, if this was in the theater and I went and saw this, I would not be upset at all. You know, and I get obviously like the director, she deals with like television, so it kind of makes sense it would go to streaming. There definitely was like especially in like the time travel bits, like the like CGI and special effects weren't like high enough budget, but I think that's also because they probably knew this was going right to streaming. So I'm sure if this was going to theater, like they'd get a little more of a budget and they'd make that look a little better.
I don't think it really affected it.
No,
either.
I had a good time. I did like that it was a little like, you know, it wasn't super, super high budget. I think it kind of added to the kind of love for it. But I mean, I definitely recommend it. I feel like Con will definitely do probably more stuff. Hopefully. I know that she directed Always Be My Maybe on Netflix, and that was like a huge. I never saw it, but like I know it did huge numbers. That was like that was the Randall Park and Ali Wong, like, romance comedy. And she also directed an Ali Wong stand-up that did really well, too. So I just think streamers are kind of, like, on her right now to churn out that content. But, yeah, so that sounds like it's a high recommend from both of us.
Mm-hmm.
So with that, I guess it's time to go over to the spoiler section of the episode. So if you're still listening to the podcast and you haven't seen the film, this is your chance to pause it, shut it off, go watch this, then come back. Or I guess, you know, if you're a psycho and you just don't care, you want it all spoiled for you, you can just keep listening. But this is your warning, and we're going to cut it on over to the spoiler section. All right, Jill, so we are in the spoiler section. We can give away everything that happens. I believe we still got about an hour and a half left to record. We're just going to recite the script word by word. We'll pick the
You're funny, because I have to work in an hour.
But what are your initial spoiler thoughts on this?
How about you go first?
Okay.
Okay, sorry.
It's okay. I could go
I'm not
first.
ready.
So I will say with this, I did really enjoy it. One of the things that I thought could have been a little better was the actual, like, whodunit of this. Because I guessed who this was immediately when it started. I was like, yeah, this is obviously going to be, like, the podcast guy.
Yeah.
What was his name? Like Chris something. But I was just like, yeah. Or, sorry, no, it was Doug. No, was it? I can't remember.
It was two of them, because it was originally Doug.
Yes.
And then Chris kind of, like, set this up so that he could go back and kill.
Yeah, Chris Dubage.
Douchebag.
Douchebag. So I did guess it was him. I didn't guess Doug, but I mean, Doug was just kind of randomly thrown in there, I think, to throw you off.
With Fat Trish.
Yeah, Fat Trish.
That was her boyfriend, yeah.
So, yeah, I was a little disappointed in that I guessed it. And, I mean, whodunits are hard, because at the same time, you don't want it so twisty that you're just like, oh, dear Lord, like, this is just... They're just twisting the twist now.
Yeah, nobody wants that from this type of movie anyway. Like, it's not supposed to be like, oh my god, my mind is blown. But it was a little obvious. Like, as soon as you get the text from him, like, at the very beginning when the mom is, like, being attacked, you're like, oh, it's totally this guy. And then you see him, like, how creepy he is. And he's kind of, like, very, like, orchestrated in the whole thing. Like, he's helping fix the time machine. He's kind of, like, helping everything along. So it is kind of obvious that's going to be him.
The other thing I really loved in this was kind of how we set up the characters so we know who's who. As Jamie goes back to the 80s, like, she'll see someone and then they'll kind of do, like, a fade shot, like a dissolve into, like, who they are as an adult. And I enjoy that because I always like to judge. I'm like, does this person actually look like the older person? I don't know if they necessarily all looked like they're adult people, because obviously, you know, they did a good job. I think you kind of almost have to with teen movies where, like, teen horror movies, like a trope that everyone casted is just kind of like ultra beautiful and they're just like all extremely good looking teenagers.
Mm-hmm.
But I thought personality wise they did do a pretty good job, and I really liked Olivia Holt.
Me too.
Yeah, who played Julie Bowen as a teenager. I'm not familiar with her.
Me neither.
It kind of, like, when I looked at her stuff, it kind of seems that she's like mostly in like kid stuff, like maybe a Nickelodeon kid or something. I mean, I don't think she's that old. Like I think she's only like early 20s, so
Right.
definitely in that area. But like she was the highlight for me. I thought she was super funny. She was super bitchy, which like you gotta be in the like mean girl role. And I just love the comedy of you going back in time and learning that your mom is just a terror to everybody.
Yeah. When in the future she's like, turn your music down, and like super lame, and she goes back in time and sees that her mom is just like a giant cunt.
Oh my
It's
God.
great.
Yeah, so like so
it.
many laughs. And especially like Lachlan Monroe's character, Blake, like just total meathead. They had like the running joke that like Father Blake kept saying that he was really ripped when he was a teenager. And I got a little worried there. I was like, oh shit, we're definitely going to get in the Back to the Future territory where, because, even when Jamie sees her dad like come out of the pool as a teenager and she's like, oh damn. And I'm like, oh shit. I was like, is her dad gonna try to bang her or something?
Oh no.
I was like, this is definitely Back to the Future territory. But luckily we didn't get into that.
It was a little more, how do I say this? Conscientious of that kind of stuff, this movie, it was like every time someone was like really mean in the 80s, she'd be like, oh, that's rude. Like the gym teacher, or like how the gym outfits were like kind of scandalous, and she was like, this is basically a Hooters uniform. I had a lot of fun with how Kiernan Shipka's character kind of interacted with the time and space of the 80s.
Yeah, I thought they did a good job with that. I also really liked the character of Damon, who I guess his nickname is Lurch in high school, but like who were pretty much from the get-go supposed to kind of believe is the killer. We kind of get a like quick flash when she arrives in 1987 in the carnival, and he's like picking up garbage. He's like an attendant there, and they kind of flash to him, and he's just kind of evilly staring. But I love like when we actually get introduced to the character that he's just like this giant pussy, and he like he's just playing video games and D&D, and when she's like looking for clues and he's just like, don't steal my video games, take whatever you want. I was crying. I thought he was a great character, like a great red herring. They definitely did their job on that one.
Absolutely.
Did you have any idea that Doug was like a killer or anything? No, came right out of...
That one came out of like nowhere. Like they did spin that Trish story pretty hard. So I guess maybe I should have thought more about it, but I didn't think that was going to be the killer at all. Like, so I don't know who I thought it was going to be.
Yeah, Fat Trish. Just...
Can't call her fat.
Yeah, well, that was probably the only one kind of incorrect thing, I guess. Although I thought they did kind of a really good job with that, and I think that, that's the writers definitely had a sensibility, and I'm gonna put my faith in anyone that creates Fresh Off the Boat, just because that's such a funny show. But I thought they did such a good job of having Jamie like always trying to correct everyone about like, you can't say that, and then like forgetting it's the 80s. And I thought that was so funny. I was gonna say too, I also I really enjoyed Randy, which I should mention, just loving the Jamie from Halloween, Randy from Scream. But Randy, his character, like, I know he's annoying, but I was just crying, like, just burping in Jamie's face all the time for no reason.
He was so disgusting.
And just like the especially like when she's first there and she's entering the parties and stuff, and he just kept throwing her out. And I'm just like, what a hammy performance for like a jock meathead, but perfect for like, I'm like, yeah, like if this was an 80s movie, this is what he would be acting like.
That is true.
So I just thought that was like super hilarious.
It was super funny, and just to bring up Kiernan Shipka again, because I love her. She did a great job of getting bullied and making it funny.
So I guess probably the most important thing in the spoiler section to talk about is we are dealing with time travel. And this is where I think it kind of faltered a bit, which, I mean, most of these movies can't pull this off. I felt the time travel logic was a little wonky at times. Some of it, like, didn't really make sense. There was stuff that I felt Jamie affected that we later on learned, like, didn't necessarily affect what it should.
Mm-hmm.
And that's fine. Like, I just felt the rules weren't really set up well and made me question it. Because I know they wanted to do a lot of stuff set in the 80s, so they almost made it like too much of a free reign of her being able to do whatever she wanted.
Yeah, that's kind of one of my gripes with it too. But to kind of like just counter that just for a second, I was thinking, well, maybe the whole point they're trying to go with is that, you know, anything you do could affect the future, so it could be like little minor things, and maybe that's why she had like such free reign to do whatever she wanted, and then in the end, like what she actually did, like changing her name and like her like existence later and having a brother and all that kind of stuff, but nothing else really got changed.
Yeah, which I did think was funny that, obviously like the big twist was like at the end, her name is changed to Colette, and she has like a gay brother, and they have like a baby, and all this stuff changes. But yeah, I guess I just thought it was weird, like, on the fact that, you know, her best friend's mom, who then she befriends when she goes into the 80s, like, knows who she is.
Yeah.
And is like, here, I kept, all this book, this journal to let you know everything that you changed. But then it's also like her mom that also met her in the 80s, her dad, like, no one else remembers her, which is like kind of weird, because it's like you formed this friendship with your mom when she was a teenager in the 80s. She's literally wearing your jacket that you gave her, which more power to her, that like literally 30 years later, she can still wear that jacket.
Yeah.
Because I'm not wearing any clothes that I could wear when I was in high school, so...
There's a couple of things like that, the psychic stone for protection, the self-defense classes.
Yeah.
And she kept bringing up, my mom, and then she was like, you should be nice to your mom when she's treating her grandmother like shit. Which is interesting, like you said, her mom doesn't remember her, but her best friend's mom does, so that doesn't really quite make sense.
Yeah.
And also, what are the repercussions of her friend's mom knowing who she was? Like, is there going to be anything serious to go with that? You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. But at the end of the day, to me, like, something fun, like this film that's just kind of silly and having a good time. I mean, there's really not many movies where there's not some sort of logical flaw with it that I've got to concede.
Yeah, especially time travel.
Yeah, and time travel isn't real, people, so, or at least not yet, so... Well, yeah, maybe one of us is time travel.
You gotta go to, like, the dark recesses of TikTok and Reddit and find people who claim to be, like, from the future, and they, like, predict stuff that's gonna happen.
Yeah, that's where I want to go.
I gotta stay off the internet.
Yeah, you need to stay off the internet. So I think really the last thing I have for the spoiler section is just the moral lessons of this film, I think, were important, which really, the big lesson in this, my takeaway, was just blowjobs, save lives. You
pee from there.
Yeah, you pee from there. But you got to do it unless you want all your friends to be murdered, I guess, was kind of the lesson. I did like the, I did like that there was just this weird blowjob thread throughout the whole thing.
There's also the lesing out thread.
Which, you know what, like, yet again, I appreciate it, because when you're making a movie like this that's, like, homaging all these other slasher movies, and also being the silly teen slasher, like, you gotta make it a little bit horny.
Of course.
You know what, I thought it was pretty funny, and I'm sure everyone would get a good laugh out of it.
Yeah, so you're forgetting the most important lesson of the movie, which is avoid the knife, keep your life. is what like the cop tells them after her mom is murdered and she's like in the room. It's brutal.
There was a lot of good quotes on this movie. So
It was. The other thing that had me cracking up was the fact that she kept saying she was an exchange student from PEI. Which I thought was hilarious.
Out.
Yeah.
I can't believe I didn't bring that up. Yeah, so many shout outs to Canada in this.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, and I just like also that, you know, she named the right place, the right province, all that stuff, and everyone just kept telling her it was a made-up place. They're like, that's not a real place.
You know what? Most Americans probably would agree with that, so... They probably don't know about PEI. But also, shout out to the guy who was like, yeah, I just went there last summer for vacation. Did you know the median age of the population in PEI is like 45.9 or something? My husband was there and he's like, why is it so old? And I was like, it's Atlantic Canada. You have no idea. Old people everywhere.
Be quiet, Dan. Sit down.
Yeah, you tell them. One more thing, very important thing that I would like to bring up. At the very beginning, when her mom is handing out candy, all that's left is rockets, or Smarties, as they call them in the States, which is the worst Halloween candy ever.
They're rockets, because Smarties are Smarties.
I know. I'm just saying for the American listeners.
Jesus.
Rockets. But yeah, just the worst Halloween candy.
I hate rockets.
Don't even give them
I
out.
hate
Don't even
them.
give them out. They're the
Rockets
worst.
suck.
They do.
When I used to get rockets, I wouldn't eat them, and they'd just end up getting thrown out. Okay, so if that is everything, we'll get into rating this. So if you're new to the program, our rating system is nay, okay, yay, or slay. Jill, what would you rate Totally Killer?
For me, it's totally a hard yay. I can't give it a slay exactly because there were, a couple of things that were a little weird, like the time travel logic. It wasn't a perfect movie, but I had a hell of a good time watching it, and that's the most important part for these types of movies. You just want to have fun. Great movie to get into the spooky mood for the spooky season. Watch it for the stacked cast. You got Kiernan Shipka, you've got Lachlan Monroe, you've got what's-her-face from Modern Family.
Yeah, Julie Bowen.
Just, exactly. All these people, great performances, super funny. It's got, like I said, something for everyone. And it's good social commentary, honestly, also. But yeah, it's definitely a hard yay for me. I will be watching it again for the third time. But yeah,
geez.
Rowan, what do you rate Totally Killer?
Yeah, so I'm also going to give it a yay. I really enjoyed it. Obviously, I can't give it a slay. I mean, I don't know if I can put this up, in the halls of slay horror with like all-time classics, but
like The Witch.
Yeah, like The Exorcist. I definitely had a really good time with this. This is something that I'm sure I'm going to watch again. Like, if someone hasn't seen it or something, I'll throw this on. I'll recommend it. This is actually, I think, the first kind of direct-to-streaming Blumhouse thing I've watched in terms of movies, and I really liked it. So this also has kind of helped Blumhouse a bit, because now I'll be more apt to watch because they do put a lot of stuff to streaming.
I was shocked that it was Blumhouse, to be honest.
So this kind of makes me be like, all right, maybe I should be, looking at some of their stuff a little more serious if they're gonna churn out stuff that's good like this. But yeah, so 2 yays. We definitely enjoyed it. And if you're not doing so already, you can follow us on social media at It Slays Podcast. Everywhere, pretty much. We're on Facebook, X, Tumblr, Instagram, Slasher, Threads, Blue Sky, Letterboxd. Geez, there's so many, I don't know. If there's a social media, we're probably on it, and if we're not, we'll probably be there at some point. And if you want to support the show, like our horror hounds, Holly, Nicholas, Patrick, Mark, Stephen, Joy, and Carvey, gain access to the Patreon exclusive show, Stream Screams, hosted by Jill, and get episodes of the main show 48 hours early. Be sure to head on over to patreon.com/itslayspodcast and choose whatever tier works best for you. And then lastly, I got to plug, it's spooky season. So go on over to Spotify, to the It Slays Podcast Horrific playlist. If you have any problems finding it, you can go to any of the social media I mentioned before. Go to the Linktree link in the bio. Take you directly there. I'm going to have to put Echo and the Bunnymen on the playlist because that's just a banger. I'm trying to there's tons of other movies. Maybe Donnie Darko, I think, also uses the same song, which is another banger movie.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so go there, you know, get your spooky music on. I've been updating it lots this Halloween, so listen to some music and just jam out. As for you know, what's next on Now Slain, it will be The Exorcist Believer. So this will be coming out. We're recording this on a Tuesday, and this will be coming out like tomorrow, and then we'll be recording The Exorcist, and that'll be coming out. So it will definitely be The Exorcist, and then after that, I think it's kind of, there's not much till the end of the month with some Five Nights at Freddy. So I'm sure if anything pops up in the meantime, we'll be back. But yeah, and I believe that is everything. I am your humble host, Rowan.
It's Jill.
And if you keep listening, we'll keep slaying.